Welcome everyone. My name is Susan Patterson. I'm the host for this YouTube channel, Winning the Fight Against Human Trafficking and Child Exploitation.
I'm Ken Henry. I'm the CEO founder of the King Connector Show, an online platform where I go around interviewing people that are doing inspirational things and hopes to bring light to the world, and also the CEO and founder of the Code Black program, which is a life skills mentor program for black males 12 years old to 24 years of age.
This interview with Ken regarding his Code Black program is part of a 4-part series at this channel that equips the community to both prevent victimization of young black boys by recruiting them as pimps and supporting the church to reach out to pimps with videos like this one. Just a little bit about Ken. Ken Henry has spent the last 20 years working as a sociologist, community leader, and organizer. In addition to his academic degrees, Ken is also a graduate of the National Human Trafficking Leadership Academy in Washington, D.C. Ken's background also includes working with brain injury survivors, and his work with victims and survivors of human trafficking and his background in mentoring skills combined with his knowledge of brain science has made it possible for him to make a tremendous strides in working with human trafficking survivors and young men in the black community, as both groups are affected by trauma, which negatively impacts the brain.
Yeah.
So Ken, welcome.
Thank you, thank you.
And I am so excited about hearing about your program because it's really an inspiration. It gives us hope in this very dark issue.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to want to work with young black men?
Yeah, well, first of all, being a black male, I've always cared about issues concerning black men here in America. And I've always, once I got out of college, honestly, I've just always kind of been interested in us move as a people, like the progress. I'm very, very, very big on history, and so I've always studied the history of black people in America, and as you know, how we've evolved as a people, how have we dealt with the historical trauma or dealing, and so for me, it came quite natural that we need almost an awakening of young black men as we move to the future and as we progress as a nation. There also needs to be, I believe, in my opinion, a progression with us, with our perspective, with because our young black males, they're growing up in a different world.
Yes.
Than even I grew up in, and I grew up in a different world than my grandfather grew up in. So as we progress, are we preparing each other for that, right? And I just think there's no time as good as now when you see all this stuff, retention from police brutality, those issues. When you think about, we talk about systemic racism, trying to figure out, is this a thing, is it not? And then, unfortunately, with the human sex trafficking movement, when you have over half of the reported street traffickers, being black, there's a major issue for us. And who better to take care of your community than you of the community?
Yes, absolutely. And what do you cover in your program?
So I cover, I start with historical trauma, because again, with history, I believe, always start back and move up. So we can kind of see how we've gotten to the point where we're at. And I really want them to see this. That's my goal. And so we start with historical trauma. We talk about the Atlantic slave trade and, that form of human trafficking and all the harsh brutalities and things that was inflicted upon them. How did that affect the psyche? And then ultimately, how did it affect them as people? And how do we see it show up today? What issues and what remnants of that do we still need to heal from? So we cover those things, and we go into education. We talk about delayed gratification versus, instant, and why is it so important to understand those two. We talk about basic budgeting, financial things to help them early start learning how, even with allowance, if that's all you get, how to start balancing and managing that to where it is a tool for you and you're not the tool for it, right? And then we get a little bit more sophisticated with some of the financial things like, life insurance, health insurance. Just what are the differences? Why does that matter? Why do you think you shouldn't worry about that right now, right? Have you ever heard of it? And helping them understand how that affects us in the world today. What does it mean to be uninsured medically? What kind of challenges does that present to a person or a family, ultimately a community? And then we talk about one of my favorites is the Be Creative, where we start learning about their talents they have inside. Whether it's an artistic talent, whether it's a talent that is tech, whether it's something that is more of a emotional, a mental thing, and teaching them how to use that power. But I do a showcase, at the end where they get to showcase that talent. And so, some come in different stages and some are shy. So it's great to see their confidence build as they're preparing for the showcase as well. So yeah, yeah.
That's great. I know Ken because he's a friend of mine, and I can tell you he is so much fun, and I know that's part of his appeal to this age group. What age groups do you work with?
So I work with, there's two divisions, so 12 to 17, and then we have the 18 to 24. And of course, with the older ones, we're able to go a little bit more deeper when it comes down to talking graphically, getting more brutally honest about what's happening, because these are adults. The younger ones, we take a little bit more of a conservative approach and lay it back and kind of present the same information, but a different way, to where they can understand it. And of course, always letting the parents know exactly what's presented to them, especially the younger ones, those 12 to 17. Because I want to make sure parents have always got to be okay with whatever I'm going to present to their kids, and if they're not, then they don't have to come to that portion of the program. Yeah.
Got it. And what difference do you feel your program is making?
A major difference, I think, and I know from just testimonials, and so hearing from the families, of just how they're even changing in a positive way inside the home. Being more respectful, taking more initiative to do things around the house, wanting to have an active part, because we talk about, personality a lot. We talk about character. We talk about wherever you're at, how do you come into a space? Do you make that space better, or do you leave that space in a more negative place? So your goal should always to be whatever circle, whatever space I go into, I want to leave it better. So it starts at home. You get to practice every single day. With how am I speaking to mom and dad? How am I using quality time here with the family? Am I active part of this family? Are there things I can do that I've been allowing my mom to do, or I've been allowing whoever to do? Could I have done this? And so, yeah, so you start hearing that, and then it just ultimately builds confidence that outside the home, if ever approach with something now, when they feel like they have a vision for their life, I'm excited about being something or being this. No, they don't. They're less likely to want to be pulled into negativity, or especially something that's going to hurt another human being.
I bet every parent who's listening to this would love to have their son in your program. I mean, I was like, can you talk to can you talk to some young boys? I know. Yeah. I mean, that's awesome. And what ways do you feel your program is keeping young black men from joining gangs or getting involved in sex trafficking, both as victims and perpetrators?
Well, I think, again, it has to do with the last answer, is the confidence and empowerment that they're gaining, because they are understanding now what human sex trafficking is, because somebody's educating them on it. They're seeing how to connect the dots to the term they knew, the pimp and hoe, and now understanding they're able to visualize and kind of, think, what if this was a sister, a cousin, a friend, someone I care about, pulled into this? So they get to the place where they're so wanting to be a healthy part of society. That's the last thing they're going to want to do, is be involved. I mean, they're ready to tell. They already are, once they're learning about it, they're trying to give their solutions. They're coming up with ideas. What can we do to fight this? How do we stop this? We should do this. Why don't the police do that? So, I mean, I see it. They're already coming in wanting to be on the right side of this thing. So that's what you want.
That's fabulous. And what is your biggest hope for Co-Black?
That it spreads, that people out there see this idea and just want to do it in their communities and tell people about it, number one. Because what I want to do is go from being just virtually, stop being virtual, and then what we'll do is we'll start doing, every now and then, hey, we'll be in LA from this date to this date, and we're going to be having classes going. Sign up for that as well. Oh, we're going to be in Texas from this date to that date. But I also want people to see it doesn't have to be exactly Co-Black, but that concept, that idea, and to start doing this all over America, heck, all over the world, getting involved. Because I feel like there are great guys out there and programs that are doing, like Steve Harvey has a big mentorship program. Good friend of mine, Donald Parrish, has one called Be a Steady Hand out in Dallas, Texas, huge. And you're seeing cool things like online. Recently, last week, I saw there was a school in Louisiana, which is my home state, where there was tons of violence. It was fighting, and it was so consistent. So the dads decided, it was a group of black dads, they got together and said, we have to intervene. And they started going to the school, and I forget what they're called, Daddy Duty or Daddy on Duty, but now they're in school every single day, and they take shifts. And the school and the students said how there have been no violence. The students are saying how happy it is. And I'm like, just that.
Yes.
that's so powerful. And so if people can maybe look at the Code Black and programs like that and say, hey, what can I do in my community to really help our young Black men, to really change the narrative that we have going on in the country? To me, that would be the greatest thing I can ask for.
Yes, and that's what I love about your King Connector shows. You have stories like Dad's on Duty, things like that, what people are doing, and especially with regard to sex trafficking, it's such a dark subject, and so much of what we see about the Black community is the hopelessness and the exploitation, the violence, and to hear more about what people like you are doing gives everybody hope. It's exciting, and it has people want to join in and get behind you and get behind programs like that. So, we just really need to raise awareness about the great work, like you said, that everyone's doing. And I love it that that's your theme for your channel. And the theme for my channel is look at what God is inspiring people to do to make this happen. And I really want to acknowledge you for saying yes to God and taking all this talent you have, all these gifts you have, and contributing it. And I know you're probably getting more out of it than what you're putting into it, which is oftentimes what happens when we say yes to God, right?
Very true, because it's so inspiring to see people, especially people that had very hopeless or negative perspective on life, to really find the positivity and see the light, the silver lining, and you see the actions that result from that.
Yes.
Once their perspective change. So you're right. I definitely feel I'm getting a lot.
Yes. Now, is there anything else you want to add before we complete today about anything that you feel the community needs to do to support the Black community or just sex trafficking in general?
Yeah, I would love to just encourage, people to go out there and get with your local churches, especially your local Black churches. Reach out to the National Black Faith Coalition against trafficking and get with groups like that are doing things in the community. It can be the Black Chamber of Commerce. I mean, there's alumni chapters of fraternities and sororities for Black organizations that they're all about community. Getting involved in groups that are, having that agenda, the Black agenda, to heal the community, and figure out who can we bring in together. And be mindful, it doesn't have to just be, Black supporters or partners. You can have allies of all type of races and background, but as long as they have a vested interest in trying to help heal the Black community, I think just getting your people, basically. I'm asking you to find your tribe and run like a pack of lions. They have the same mission always, and they're in their tribe. And just find out your tribe and get on that mission together.
That is such a great way to complete this interview. Thank you so much for that. And thank you again for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.